Hello, I am Matthew with Wide Vision Metal Fab, and today I'm going to do a review of the Bestarc BTC500DP Generation 3 plasma cutter. I have already put this thing to the test, and I can say it definitely met my expectations. For a budget plasma cutter, it performed very well. Before I show using it, I want to talk about a few of the features real quick. It is a dual voltage machine. It comes standard with a 220 volt plug already on it and a adapter that drops it down to 110. This is the correct way to do it. That way you're not running 220 volts high amps through the 110 plug like some other plasma cutters do. So nice way of doing it this way. And one thing that for me I found really nice, maybe not everyone is going to be too concerned about this, but the air regulator is built into the machine. The knob sticks out of the front here instead of it hanging off the back of the plasma cutter. The plasma cutter I used to carry on my welding truck, the air regulator was on the back, and that thing was constantly getting hit and beat up, rattling around in the toolbox of my truck, getting cords hung up on it all the time. And it was not very pleasant. So it's really nice that the regulator is built in up here. In your garage, that may not be quite as an important detail, but it is definitely something to consider if you're going to be dragging this thing around different places. The torch is an AG60P, very common torch. You could almost just say it's a off-the-shelf torch, really. A lot of plasma cutters are using this torch, which makes parts and consumables really easy to find for it. And, you know, it's a pretty well proven torch at this point. Another feature that I found really nice is it has a mode in which you can turn on the air and adjust the regulator without having to try to fire the torch all the time and adjust it. Change your regulator. Drop it down to nothing. Crank it back up. And then shut off that test when you're done. It also has a 2T and a 4T setting on it. 2T is you pull the trigger, it starts cutting. You let off the trigger, it stops cutting. The 4T is you pull the trigger and then you release the trigger and it will keep cutting until you pull and release the trigger again. That is really nice on long cuts. That is something I wish I had when I was building calf sheds, cutting up these old crude oil tanks. My hand was definitely starting to get cramps in it by the end of those really long cuts. And that 4T setting will definitely help with your grip fatigue. It also has a PT setting here, which is your post-trigger setting for airflow. When you go into the PT mode, you can adjust the length of your post airflow. You know, when you're done cutting, you can set it from 3 seconds all the way up to 15 seconds. So when you pull the trigger and let off, 1, 2, 3, it should kick off. There you go. Or you can set it all the way up to 15 seconds afterwards. Having the real long time of 15 seconds is pretty nice if you're cutting thicker metal. And it also can be really handy if you're doing multiple cuts. You don't have that air kicking on and off all the time. It can just stay running. And I really did put this machine to the test for this review. I had this old winch bed sitting around that I will probably use the winch and the rolling tailboard off of, and the rest of it just needed to be scrapped. So I figured I would use this plasma cutter to cut up that bed, and it performed very well. Very happy with it. And then of course I had to do some testing on various thickness metal and see how well it performed. And to my surprise, this little 50 amp plasma cutter will actually do a severance cut on 3/4 inch material. I was not expecting it to do that. Let's do some testing here and see what this thing will cut like on just some scrap piece of metal here and test different thicknesses. I put a brand new electrode and nozzle on it, so new consumables, new ceramic cup. So we're gonna try some thick 3/4 inch stuff here first. See if it'll do it in one pass and how ugly that gets. And I'm doing the thickest first because I have brand new consumables in this. You always get your best cuts with brand new consumables. So let's try this out. There we go. Wow. It actually did it. Not near as ugly as a cut as I thought it would be, honestly. Well, since we did 3/4 inch thick, show you the cut on 1/4 inch stuff here real quick. Just kind of give you a quick comparison. So, did pretty good on that. That's no problem there. All right, let's jump up to 3/8 thick real quick here. Three-eighths cut really nice. Okay, now we're gonna do some 1/2 inch thick plate. I could tell I had to travel a little bit slower on 1/2 inch there, but still decent cut. Out of curiosity, I decided to look inside the machine and discovered a couple nice things. One is they use push lock air hoses. That makes it really easy to replace the air hoses. That's actually really nice because one of the plasma cutters I had years ago just had some cheap rubber hose in it and it broke inside the machine. And it took me forever to figure out how to replace it because it was just like crimped on and the hose was a really difficult size to find and all that. So I'm really glad to see all this just push lock connectors. Man, that makes life so easy. Another thing I noticed is that all the connectors are hot glued in place. Since I carry my plasma cutters on site a lot, I really like that. That way you don't get somewhere and the plasma cutter doesn't work simply because a plug vibrated off. Overall, I am very satisfied with the performance of this machine, especially considering it's a budget machine. I am planning on keeping it on my welding truck, going on site with it, so it will get plenty of abuse and we will see if it fails anytime in the future. With the testing I've done so far, I feel pretty confident in saying I can recommend this machine. If you're considering buying one of these, then check the description for a link and a discount code, as using those links helps this channel just a little bit, and it also helps Bestarc track who's actually selling stuff for them. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, y'all. See y'all in the next one.